Hey, second graders. So we are going to be reading chapters 3 and 4 of Magic Treehouse number 1, Dinosaurs Before Dark. While we are listening to this story, I want you thinking about all the things that good readers do to make sure they are understanding the story they're reading and thinking really hard about all the connections you can make with this story. Okay, so chapter 3, Where is Here? Jack looked out the window. He looked down at the picture in the book. He looked back out the window. The world outside and the world in the picture, they were exactly the same. The pterodon was soaring through the sky. The ground was covered with ferns and tall grass. There was a winding stream, a sloping hill, and volcanoes in the distance. "Where are we?" stammered Jack. The pterodon glided down to the base of their tree. The creature coasted to a stop. And stood very still. "What happened to us?" said Annie. She looked at Jack. He looked at her. "I don't know," said Jack. "I was looking at the picture in the book, and you said, 'Whoa, I wish I could see a pterodon for real,'" said Annie. "Yeah, and then we saw one in the Frog Creek woods," said Jack. "Yeah, and then the wind got loud and the treehouse started spinning," said Annie. "And we landed here," said Jack. "And we landed here," said Annie. "So that means," said Jack. "So that means what?" said Annie. "Nothing," said Jack. He shook his head. "None of this can be real." Annie looked out the window again. "But he's real," she said. "He's very real." Jack looked out the window with her. The pterodon was standing at the base of the oak tree, like a guard. His giant wings were spread out on either side of him. "Hi!" Annie shouted. "Shh!" said Jack. "We're not supposed to be here." "But where is here?" said Annie. "I don't know," said Jack. "Hi!" Annie called again to the creature. The pterodon looked up at them. "Where is here?" Annie called down. "You're nuts. He can't talk to us," said Jack. "But maybe the book could tell us." Jack looked down at the book. He read the words under the picture. This flying reptile lived in the Cretaceous period. It vanished 65 million years ago. No, impossible. They couldn't have landed in a time 65 million years ago. "Jack," said Annie, "he's nice." "Nice? Yeah, I can tell. Let's go down and talk to him." "Talk to him?" Annie started to climb down the rope ladder. "Hey!" shouted Jack. But Annie kept going. "Are you crazy?" Jack called. Annie dropped to the ground. She stepped boldly up to the ancient creature. Chapter 4, Henry. Jack gasped as Annie held out her hand. Oh, brother, she was always trying to make friends with animals, but this was going way too far. "Don't get close to him, Annie," said Jack. But Annie touched the pterodon's crest. That's the top part of his head. She stroked his neck. She was talking to him. What in the world was she saying? Jack took a deep breath. Okay, he would go down too. It would be good to examine the creature. Examine means look more closely at something. Take notes, like a scientist. Jack started down the rope ladder. I want you to pause right now and think in your head, what do you think might happen next? What prediction could you make about what's going to happen next in this story? So think for just a second. Okay, so Jack started down the rope ladder. When he got to the ground, Jack was only a few feet away from the creature. The creature stared at Jack. His eyes were bright and alert. "He's soft, Jack," said Annie. "He feels like Henry." Jack snorted. "He's no dog, Annie." "Feel him," said Jack. "Feel him, Jack," said Annie. Jack didn't move. "Don't think, Jack. Just do it." She stepped forward. He put out his arm, very cautiously or very carefully. He brushed his hand down the creature's neck. Interesting. A thin layer of fuzz covered the pterodon's skin. Soft, huh? Said Annie. Jack reached into his backpack and pulled out a pencil and a notebook. He wrote, "Fuzzy skin." "What are you doing?" asked Annie. "Taking notes," said Jack. "We're probably the first people in the whole world to ever see a real, live pterodon." Jack looked at the pterodon again. The creature had a bony crest on top of its head. The crest was longer than Jack's arm. This is the part he's talking about right here. "I wonder how smart he is," Jack said. "Very smart," said Annie. "Don't count on it," said Jack. "His brain's probably no bigger than a bean." "Nope, he's very smart. I can feel it," said Annie. "I'm going to call him Henry." Jack wrote in his notebook, "Small brain." Jack looked at the creature again. "Maybe he's a mutant," he said. The creature tilted its head. Annie laughed. "He's no mutant, Jack." "Well, what's he doing here then? Where is this place?" said Jack. Annie leaned close to the pterodon. "Do you know where we are, Henry?" she asked softly. The creature fixed his eyes on Annie. His long jaws is like his mouth, were opening and closing like a giant pair of scissors. "Are you trying to talk to me, Henry?" asked Annie. "Forget it, Annie," Jack wrote in his notebook. "Mouth like scissors?" "Did we come to a long time ago, Henry?" asked Annie. "Is this place from long ago?" Suddenly, she gasped. "Jack!" He looked up. Annie was pointing toward the hill. On top stood a huge dinosaur. All right, so that's the end of chapter 4. I want you to think again in your head, what prediction are you making about what might happen in chapter 5 and chapter 6? What do you think might happen next for Jack and Annie? What kind of dinosaurs do you think that they were seeing up on that hill? Do you think they're going to be nice or not so nice? Make a prediction in your head about what is going to happen next. Okay, I will post another video soon of chapters 5 and 6, so make sure you're listening to those next couple of chapters to find out what happens.